Level 3. Mid-Iceberg. Machines. The Digitakt has several simple playback engines which it calls machines. These were not available at release. They were introduced in later firmware updates. The default machine is one-shot, but there is also warp, repitch, and slice. Press function and source to open the machine menu and switch between them. One-shot plays samples in a linear fashion. It has options to set the tune or pitch of the sample, and if it should be played normally in reverse or in a loop. BR or bit reducer changes the resolution of the sample for a more lo-fi feel. Samp is where you can select the sample to be used. STRT sets the start point of the sample, length sets the length, and loop defines the loop point when that option is selected. Finally, you can set the sample's volume level. If you press source a second time, you will see the waveform of the sample. You will still have access to the same parameters, so you can use this to have a visual aid in setting up start and loop points, for example. And another tip, if you hold source for a bit, you will be shown the name of the sample. The next machine is warp. This machine allows samples and loops to be automatically stretched to the tempo of the pattern. The available parameters are mostly the same, but there are 3 new ones. Seg means segment size. The time stretch of this machine works by dividing the sample into smaller bits. This parameter changes the size of those bits, from 1/8 to 1/32. Mode defines if these bits should be played in reverse, reverse loop, forward, or forward loop. And finally, bars sets the total duration of the sample measured in bars. The third machine is repitch. This machine also time stretches the samples, but it works by repitching the whole sample. This affects the length as well. Think of a vinyl being played. If you slow down the playback, the pitch will be lower and the length will also increase. The available parameters are a mix between one-shot and warp. Lastly, we have slice. Slice cuts your sample in chunks, which can then be played individually. This works well with full loops. The new parameters are slice, len, and grid. Slice sets the actual slice to be played. Selecting note here will let you use the Trigs in chromatic mode to play each slice. Len will set how many slices will play consecutively. And finally, grid sets how many slices the sample will be divided in. Note trigs versus lock trigs. You can insert 2 different types of trigs in a sequence, note trigs and lock trigs. Note trigs are the normal trigs that you insert in the sequencer to play a sound. The lock trigs are trigs that do not play sounds and only contain parameter lock information. For example, do you want to change the filter cutoff without having to add a note? Then you can use the lock trigger. To add a note trigger, just press one of the trigs. To add the lock trigger, hold function and press one of the trigs. You can tell them apart in the sequencer by their color. Note trigs are red, lock trigs are yellow. Pay close attention to this. This is an Easter egg, fellow. Also note that online you'll see people talking about trigless trigs. This is just another name for lock trigs. Parameter locks. Parameter locks are one of the most beloved features of the Digitakt sequencer. It allows for each step to have its own parameters. You can lock almost anything. You can even select a different sample per step. Parameter locks can be added in all recording modes. In grid recording and step recording modes, hold a trig and twist one of the data entry knobs on the different pages to lock specific values. You'll notice that the graphics for that particular parameter will become inverted, signaling that the parameter has been locked. To remove it, hold the trig again and press the data entry knob for the locked parameter. In live recording mode, you just need to turn the data entry knobs while the recording is happening, and the parameters will be locked as the sequence goes. To remove these locks, hold no and press the data entry knobs for the lock parameters. Conditional locks. You can apply conditional rules to trigs on a sequence to define if they should happen or not. For example, you can set a trig to happen only 50% of the time, or maybe to only happen in the second loop of the pattern, or maybe that it should only happen if the conditional trig before didn't happen. These rules are set using conditional locks. Setting a conditional lock is like setting a parameter lock. Go to the trig page and now hold a trig. You'll notice that the probability parameter is now condition. Now, use the D knob to change between the options. And watch out, because some of these get really complicated. Fill relates to the fill option, which we will discuss later on. This means that the trig will only happen when fill mode is activated. Pre is used when you want a trig to happen when the previous conditional lock was resolved to true. For example, you set one trig to happen 75% of the time, and the next trig has a pre-conditional lock. If the first trig happens, the second trig will also happen. If the first trig doesn't happen, then the second trig won't happen either. The next option is nay, which is like pre, but it affects different tracks. For example, track 1 has that trig with 75% of probability to happen. Track 2 has a trig with nay active that happens after the one in track 1. If the trig in track 1 happens, then the trig in track 2 will also happen. Do note that the track affected by nay is always the one before, and this behavior cannot be changed. The next option is first, which means that the trig will only happen the first time the pattern plays and not in subsequent loops. The next options are percentages, and this assigns a probability percentage for the trig to happen. The last options are numbers with a colon in the middle. These set if the trig should happen in a specific number of pattern loops. For example, with 1:2, the trig will happen the first time the pattern plays, and then on the third, and then on the fifth, and so on. This is because it's set to play once every 2 loops. For 2:4, it will play on the second loop every 4 loops. Note that some of these options have a line above them. This means that the condition is inverted. For example, a trig set with pre with a line above it will happen when the previous conditional lock does not happen. Settings menu. The settings menu can be accessed using its dedicated settings key. It is divided into submenus that control the different aspects of the Digitakt. Project lets you load, save, and manage projects. Samples open the sample manager, where you can load, unload, rename, and replace samples. A relevant option here is removing unused samples from RAM. In the Samples menu, press left and select View RAM. Now, press right and select Unused. Finally, select Unload. All samples that are not used in tracks will be removed from the project. Next, we have the Song menu, which lets you rename, erase, load, and save songs. We will talk about the song feature in another entry. In the Pattern menu, you can manage everything related to patterns. You can rename, erase, and save here. Additionally, you can load data from other projects. Note that you can save or load not only the whole pattern data together, but also specifically the kit data, meaning the sounds that this pattern uses, and the sequence data. You can also import and export sounds here. The last option of the Pattern menu is Audio Routing. This allows you to set the audio routings of the 8 audio tracks and 2 effects, delay and reverb, and this is set by pattern. If you highlight Route to Main, you can use the track trigs and filter and amp keys to select which track should go to the main out. Green means that they will be sent to main, and red means they won't. Disabled tracks will not be heard on the main out, but they will still be heard in overbridge. Send to effects works the same way, but here you define what tracks should be sent to the delay and reverb effects. Global setting defines if these settings should be set per pattern or for the whole project. If global setting is activated, the pattern menu will not show these options, and they will be in the main settings menu as their own entry. The next menu in settings is MIDI config. Here you can set many aspects of how MIDI works in the Digitakt, such as what data should be transmitted or received, the MIDI channels used by the different tracks, and how the ports should be used. After MIDI config, we have sysx dump. This is used to send or receive system-exclusive files. In this context, sysx files contain menu, project, pattern, and sound data. Use the send and receive options here to, for example, back up your data to a computer and vice versa. The receive function can also be used to install sound packs and individual sounds. Next, we have global audio routing. As mentioned before, this is different from the pattern audio routing, as it affects the Digitakt at a global level. It contains the same options as pattern audio routing, plus a few more. Int to main is used to define if audio should still be heard on the main and headphone ports when overbridge or a class-compliant device is being used. USB to main sets the amplification that should be applied to incoming USB audio. Finally, pre and post fader defines if audio over USB should be pre or post the track level setting. The next submenu, Global Effects and Mix, is very relevant. Here you can set particular features to be controlled globally on a per pattern basis. Finally, we have System. And here you can configure what USB connection type should be used, and you can also set if the LED backlight of the key should be used and how bright the keys in screen should be. The option Remember Subpage makes it so that the Digitakt remembers the parameter page subpage that you last used, instead of always going in order. In the submenu, you can also upgrade the OS, you can format the plus drive, and check your storage stats. Song mode. The Digitakt has a song mode, which you can use to arrange patterns to be played in specific sequences. Each song can have up to 99 rows in length, and each project can have 16 songs. To create a song, press the key with the 3 dots, which is called Song Mode, and then Yes to access Song Mode. Then, press the Song Mode key again, and Right to access Song Edit. Here, you'll see a table divided by several columns. Column 1 is a song row that ranges from 1 to 99. Column 2 has the name of the row. You can name each row according to the song part, such as intro, verse, bridge, etc. Column 3 shows the pattern to be used. Column 4 is row repeat, or the number of times the specific row will be repeated. Column 5 is row length, which sets the length of the row in steps. The default value is the same as the pattern length. Column 6 is row tempo, which lets you specify the tempo for each row. By default, the song tempo and swing is the same as the tempo and swing of the selected pattern. Column 7 shows the current time and position of the playhead in the song arrangement. Finally, column 8 is row mute. It lets you mute the different tracks of the pattern on the selected row. This is useful in case you want to have direct control over when some of the elements should come in, or in case you're using the same pattern for multiple song parts. At the end of the table, there is always the end row. By default, the song is set to loop, but here you can set it to stop playback when it reaches the end. To add a row, press Function and down. To remove a row, press Function and up. Use the arrow keys to navigate between the different rows and columns. To edit one of the parameters, use the level data or data entry knobs. If you want to copy a row, select it and press Function and record. Then, to paste it, press Function and stop. If you want to play a song, press the Song Mode key and then Yes to access Song Mode. After that, press Song Mode and down and select the song that you want to play. Then, press Play. You can use Stop to stop the playback. If you press Play here, the playback will resume from where it was. If you press Stop twice and then press Play, the song will play from the top. You can use Function and left during playback to loop the row that is currently being played. Press those keys again to stop looping the row. If you want to quickly exit song mode, you can select a pattern using Pattern or Bank and a trigger. This will select a pattern to be played and exit song mode. Plus Drive Sound Library. The Plus Drive Sound Library is the list of all sounds or presets in the storage space of the Digitakt. It can have up to 2048 sounds divided by 8 banks. The Plus Drive Sound Library is different from the sound pool. The Plus Drive library sounds are available to all projects, while the sound pool is contained inside each project and can only contain 128 sounds. On the other hand, it's only possible to sound lock sounds in the sound pool. Sound Manager. The Sound Manager is where you can import, export, rename, and tag the Digitakt sounds that exist in the Plus Drive Sound Library. To access it, press Function and the 3 dots key, and then select Manage Sounds. You will now see a list of sounds that exist in the Plus Drive Sound Library. Use Level Data or Up and Down to scroll through the list, and Trigs 9 to 16 to select a bank between A and H. You can preview sounds using Function and Yes. When you find the sound that you want to use, highlight it and press Right. It's also possible to select multiple sounds at the same time. Then you'll find several options. You can load the sound to the active track, you can copy the sound to the sound pool, Plus Drive, or one of the banks. You can rename and edit the tags of the sound, and tags are useful as you can search and filter specifically for tags. You can also delete, select all, or select unused. The toggle option enables or disables write protection for the selected sounds. And finally, Send SysEx sends the selected sound as SysEx data. On the other hand, if you press left on the sound list, you will see the sorting menu. And here, there are a lot of options as well. You can view the sounds available in the project's sound pool. You can view the sounds available in the Plus Drive. You can sort the files alphabetically or by slot number. And finally, you can filter using tags and search using text. Saving sounds. You can save the sound used in an audio track as a preset to be used in future projects. To do this, with the audio track active, press Function and the 3 dots key to open the Import-Export menu. Then select Export Sound. Select an empty slot, name it, and add useful tags. That's it. Sample Management. The Settings menu has a Simple section where you can manage everything related to the Digitakt samples. Here, you can use the arrow keys and yes to highlight and open a directory. To quickly jump between directories, hold Function and press left or right. If you want to preview a sample, press Function and yes. Press yes on the samples that you want to take action and then press right. In this menu, you can select all samples in the list, load the selected samples to available slots in the project, or delete them. You can also move the samples and create new directories. If you want to unload sounds, press left on the sample list. Then select View RAM. All 127 sample slots will now be listed. You can now select the samples to unload. When you're done, press right and select Unload. It's also possible to replace a sample. To do so, follow the previous steps to unload, but select only one sample for the option to be available. Now, here's a pro tip. If you want a faster way to load samples to the project, open the source page and turn Knob D to open the sample list. Now head over to an empty slot and press Function and yes. This will open the Samples menu. Now browse to the sample that you want to use and press yes. Voila! Direct Sampling. There's a very quick way to sample without having to open the sampling menu. Just hold the sampling key and press yes to arm the sampler. The key itself will turn yellow. If you want to start sampling manually, press Function and the sampling key. When recording, the sampling key will turn red. Press Function and sampling again to stop sampling. The sampling key will now turn dark red while it normalizes the sample and green when it's done. You can also cancel the sampling by pressing Sampling and No. Copy, paste, and clear. It's possible to copy, paste, and clear patterns, tracks, track pages, and trigs. However, the way to do each of these operations is sometimes convoluted. Let's go step by step for each. To copy a pattern to another slot, make sure that the sequence is stopped. Then, press Function and record. Now, select another pattern and press Function and stop. That's it. Function and play clears all trigs in the current pattern. If you want to copy or clear a single track, activate grid recording first. Then, repeat the previous steps. You can even copy a specific parameter page. And to do this, just select the parameter page that you want to copy. Then, use the respective page key, for example filter, source, amp, or any other, hold that key and press record to copy. Now, go to the track where you want to paste this information. Hold the page key again and press stop to paste. You can also clear using page key and play. If you want to copy trigs, activate grid recording. Now, hold the trig that you want to copy and press record. Then, hold the target trig and press stop to paste. All trig data, including parameter locks, will be pasted. Additionally, if you hold the trig and press play, only the locks will be cleared. And here's a very useful pro tip. You can undo any copy, paste, and clear operation by repeating the same key press. Remember this. Keyboard and node scales. If you long press Function and Track, you will open the Keyboard Setup menu. This is where you can manage the keyboard using chromatic mode. For example, this is where you can set the note scale for the keyboard and the root note. You can also set the octave and activate Keyboard Fold. Keyboard Fold condenses the keyboard, so instead of showing a normal piano layout, it will only list the keys that can actually be played according to the selected scale. This option is also very useful when the slice machine is used, since the slices will appear sequentially. Sequence scale. You might see scale written underneath the page button. This confused me at first, but this is not related to note scales. This is where you set the pattern step length. Press Function and Page to open this menu. The default is 16 steps, but you can select up to 64 steps. They also don't need to follow any particular measure. You can select 10 steps, for example. This is great to create polymeters. You also see a scale setting. This adjusts the speed of the sequence. You can use scale to have more than 64 steps in a sequence. For example, if you set the scale to be at half speed, you'll have 8 bars instead of 4 bars. However, do keep in mind that this also changes the step resolution. meaning you will not be able to be as precise when adding steps in grid recording mode. You can get around this by recording in live recording mode without quantization. If you want a quicker way to change length, you can use the page key to change the total length of the pattern, and then the Trigs to change to specific step numbers. The pattern length can also be set per pattern or per track. Press Function and Yes to change this option. Per track has two more options, Change Length and Master Length, which are meant to control global pattern settings. Master Length controls how many steps should the pattern have before restarting. You can set this to infinite, so the loop never restarts. And if you have polymeters, this can be useful to create sequences that are always evolving. Change Length controls how long the pattern will play before a chained or queued pattern begins playing. This is off by default, but this option is important in case you set Master Length to be infinite, for example. If your Master Length is infinite and you do not set the Change Length, you will not be able to change patterns, because this one will be playing forever. And here's another tip. If you plan on using track lengths longer than 64 by using the scale option, do not forget to also set the master length accordingly, or else the pattern will restart prematurely. Nudging. You can nudge tempo by 10% temporarily by holding the left or right keys in the main interface screen. You can use this if you want to manually sync to a turntable, for example. Then just let go of the key to go back to the normal tempo. Tap tempo. You can tap tempo manually by pressing Function and the tempo key to the rhythm. Pattern chains. Chains is a sort of rudimentary song mode. You can use this feature to link patterns together to be played sequentially. Select a bank, then hold Pattern and select the first pattern of the chain. Now, release the Pattern button, but keep holding the trig for the first pattern. And while you're holding this trig, select the different patterns that you want to play in the chain. You can select the same pattern multiple times if you want, and it's also possible to select patterns from different banks. If you want to select the first pattern again to be played, just hold some other pattern that you've selected and select the first pattern again. When you're done, just press play and that's it. You can create chains with up to 64 patterns, and if you access song mode after creating a chain, you'll be able to create the song using that chain as a base. Note that the chain will be active until you press stop more than 3 times. If you do so, you will go back to the initial pattern. Control All. Control All is perhaps a little-known feature of the Digitakt that lets you control a specific parameter in all audio tracks at the same time. For example, you can adjust the delay on all tracks, or the filter, or something else. To do this, just hold track while adjusting a parameter. To undo the change, before you let go of track, press No. This can be great for transitions or breakdowns. Class-compliant device. The Digitakt is a class-compliant device, or plug-and-play. This means that it doesn't require specific drivers to work. Because of this, you can use it with a computer or even a smartphone, for example, both to send and receive audio over USB. Elektronauts Forum. The Elektronauts Forum is the main hub for everything related to Elektron devices. Here, you can talk about your device, learn about bugs or hidden features, and check out quirky use cases from other users. Go check it out. No streaming from disk. Unlike its bigger brother, the Octatrack, the Digitakt unfortunately does not have a CF card slot, so you cannot stream samples directly from a card. It also can't stream from its internal storage either, meaning each project is limited to 64 megabytes of RAM for samples.